Welcome friends, my name is Sagar Deshmukh. Today in this video, we'll see the next part of design of combined rectangular footing. We'll call this as part 5. Till now I have published 4 parts on this design of combined rectangular footing. You may refer these videos so that you will understand this current video. We'll quickly revise what we have designed till now and then we'll move towards the next part of design. We were discussing this numerical. The statement of this numerical was design a reinforced concrete rectangular combined footing for two columns A and B located 3.6 meter apart. The sizes of columns are 400 mm by 400 mm and 600 mm by 600 mm, and the loads on columns are 1000 kilonewton and 1500 kilonewton, that is 1500 kilonewton. The projection of footing parallel to the length of footing beyond the axis of column A is limited to 590 mm. The SBC of soil is 280 kilonewton per meter square. Use M20 grade of concrete and Fe415 grade of steel. Now this was the statement of the numerical. In this, first of all, we have written all the given data. After that, we have calculated the weight of footing, self weight of footing, by assuming it equal to 10% of load, total load due to the columns. So like this we have calculated the self weight of footing. After that we have calculated total load. After calculating the total load, we have proceeded towards the calculation of area of footing. In this we have used formula of W by SBC to calculate the area. The total load is calculated by us, SBC is given, so from this ratio we have calculated area of footing. After calculating the area of footing, we have moved towards the calculation of length and width of footing. Now to find out the length and width of footing, we have to use the given data and some concept. The projection of outer edge of footing from center of column A is given, that was 590 mm. We know that to footing for footing, the center of resultant, that is resultant due to load on column A and column B, should match to the center of footing. Okay, so these 2 points must coincide with each other. So in order to fulfill this requirement, we have taken conditions. Then we have calculated the length of footing. It was 5.5 meter. After calculating the length, we have also calculated the width of footing, that was 1.8 meter. After that we have calculated net upward pressure. I'm just revising it because you will get some idea what we have learned till now in this numerical. Then we have found out the net upward pressure. After the calculation of net upward soil pressure, we have moved towards the calculation of bending moment distribution. In that, to calculate the bending moment of at various point, first of all we need to convert this given column load into factored load. So that's why we have converted these loads in the factored load by multiplying it by 1.5. So from this we have calculated reaction of soil on footing per meter run. So that means how much UDL is acting from the reaction given by soil to the footing. Okay, so this was the case of loading for this footing. After that, we have calculated the area, bending moment under column A from this diagram. We have also calculated the maximum hogging bending moment that was here in between these two columns, and we have calculated the bending moment which was sagging moment under B. So we have calculated three bending moments, one under column A, one under column B, and one at the point having maximum hogging moment. Okay, so after calculating that three moments, we have taken maximum bending moment out of these three, and we have equated that moment with limiting moment. So equations of limiting moments were written. So out of these three, this equation is useful for us in this numerical because we have used 415 steel grade here. So by comparing the maximum bending moment out of these three calculated moments with limiting moment, we have calculated the trial depth. So that was 392. So in order to provide safety against shear, we have increased this depth after adding the effective cover. So this was the effective cover we have assumed. After this, we have increased this depth of footing and assumed some higher value because we wanted to use the steel economically, and we know that generally shear criteria require greater depth than bending moment. So we have increased the depth of footing. We have considered 40% more value than the value came from calculation. So we have assumed effective depth equal to 582 after increasing all the depth. Then we have checked this depth for punching shear. So these were the calculations for punching shear. After this, we have calculated minimum area of steel required for a footing at any section, because if we know this minimum area of steel at any section, then it will be helpful for us while calculating all the areas. If AST calculation of any cross section comes lesser than this value, then we'll use AST minimum in place of that. After this, we have calculated area of steel under A, column A, bend reinforcement under column A, by using the bending moment under column A. That was 571 mm square, which was lesser than AST minimum. So that's why we have used AST minimum as a area of reinforcement under column A. Okay, then we have done calculations for number of bars. I have left some part here that there was about spacing, and it was given for homework that you should find out the spacing of main bars as per the IS 456. Okay. After that, we have also calculated the area of steel under column B. These were the calculations for that. So we have calculated the area of steel under column B, and which was greater than AST minimum. So it is okay to use this area of steel. Okay. After this, we have calculated the bending moment in between these two columns, or maximum hogging moment. we have calculated area of steel for this case also. Then at the end we have calculated the shear forces, means we have done the shear analysis for the footing, and we have calculated the shear forces at various points or sections in the footing. So this was the shear force diagram after calculating the shear forces at various points. Now we'll see the next part in this video. So this was the shear force diagram which we have calculated in previous step. Now we want to calculate the shear stress due to this external loading, and we want to check this footing for one-way shear and two-way shear, that is punching shear. Okay, so these are the two main requirements of us. So here, after calculating this shear forces, we should calculate the distance of point of contraflexure from column A and column B. To calculate this, we can use the principle of similar triangles. So these are similar triangles, this triangle and this one, and we can calculate this and this distance. So I have calculated it and I have written directly. It is 1.61 and 1.99. So after calculating this, in order to provide the shear reinforcement, we can see the shear force diagram of footing, and we can state or conclude that this portion of footing is having less shear force. So we can provide only nominal shear reinforcement here. That may be in the form of 8-leg stirrups. Here we can see that in this portion we have larger shear forces acting. Okay, so in this portion we need to take some extra care of footing, so that's why we need to provide some extra shear reinforcement here. So we will provide 10-legged shear or 10-legged stirrups. Okay. Here also we can see that there is a good amount of shear acting on the footing, so that's why we'll use 10-legged stirrups here. So this portion of footing and this portion of footing is carrying major shear stress, so that's why we have taken larger or the maximum shear reinforcement here and in this section. Whereas in this portion at the middle point of the footing, in this portion we can see that there is a very less value of shear stress acting, so we can increase the spacing of stirrups here, or we can go for 8-legged nominal shear stirrups. Here also we have lesser value of shear stresses, so that's why we'll provide 8-legged stirrups. Okay, so this is how we'll provide the stirrups. Now to calculate the shear or to check the footing for shear, one-way shear, we know that one-way critical section for one-way shear is at a distance of, I'm writing this for your information, generally the one critical section for one-way shear is at a distance of D from face of column. Okay, so let's find out the distance of critical section from center of column. So first of all, we'll do this for column B. Okay, so we know that the total size of column is, if suppose this is column and this is outer projection of putting from center of column, so this distance of critical section from center of column will be equal to, this distance will be equal to, if the critical section is lying somewhere here, so it will be equal to half of the distance, half of the dimension of column plus depth of footing, because for one way shear critical section is at distance of D from face of column. So this half width of column and this depth. So column is of 600 mm by 600 mm, so that will be 0.300 plus half of column plus depth is 0.582, so 582, so it will be 882, of course 0.882, so it will be in meter. This is what distance of critical section from the face of column or from the center of the column. Now to calculate shear force at critical section, we'll use this formula that will take total cantilever portion of footing from center of column B minus the distance of critical section from center of column divided by total cantilever portion, length of that portion, into the shear force under column B, negative shear force under column B, that is 893.18. let's check it. It is negative shear force under column B, so that was 893.18. okay, so this calculation I have done already. It is 291.82 kilonewton. So this is value of shear force coming. Okay, from this we'll calculate value of nominal shear stress. We know that it is VU by BD. So VU is 291.82 into 10 raised to power 3. This is given for calculation or conversion of this kilonewton to Newton. B is given, it is 1, we have assumed it as 1.8 meter, that is 1800 mm, and this D is 582. So if this if you calculate this, it will be 0.28 Newton per mm square. Okay, so in order to check this, we should calculate the value of tau C. This is tau V. Okay, now to compare this tau V, we should calculate value of tau C. To calculate that, we require percentage of steel first. Percentage of steel, we'll calculate that value under column B, provided 3015. Please correct me if I'm writing something or if I'm taking some wrong values by mistake if I have taken that. So this is AST divided by area, that will be 582 into 100 to make it in percentage. 0.29% will be the area of steel provided. So if you calculate this is PT, if you calculate value of tau C with respect to this value of PT from IS 456, then you will get value of tau C equal to 0.37 Newton per mm square. Now here we can see that value of tau C is greater than tau V, which is we wanted. This condition shows that the stress coming due to external loading is